Hey everybody, welcome to the podcast, the project investigation collaboration brought to you by the Veritas Project. And as always, we are here with our gracious host, founder of the Veritas Project, Robert Curtis.
Hello.
And I'm lead investigator Todd Boyer, and welcome everybody.
Welcome back.
Welcome back. So, Bob, I have a few things for you today.
All right.
So, we are eventually moving. Bob is moving from this location to the family home. He's renovating it currently.
Yeah.
But I have something for our studio.
All right.
We got this right here. This is 92 square feet of acoustic foam. That came as black and blue, so we'll alternate colors. Unfortunately, that's not the sticky back stuff. There's stickers in there that we'll have to put on the backs and then stick them up, double-sided stickers.
Nice.
But there is 90-something square feet that we can acoustic foam a wall, and we'll be able to use that. And then here is the second thing that I got for us, and for Bob. I got me one too, but this one is for Bob. I was hoping this would be here by our anniversary show, but it wasn't. But there you go, sir.
Oh, look at that.
So if you want to show everybody that, and I will pull mine out. I will pull mine out. And there's mine.
See that? How about that?
So they are business card holders.
Yay.
Which Bob just got us some new business cards with the logo, our title, and then our name on them.
Oh, that's nice.
And thank you, Amazon.
Yeah.
Just took a little longer because they did come from China, so it took a little longer than I'd planned for those to come in.
It's quality.
So, yep. Happy 1-year podcast anniversary last week. Yay.
Hooray.
So we are out there doing it.
Living the dream.
Living the dream. Anything else going on that we need to talk about?
We're supposed to stop saying living the dream and say the horrors persist, yet so do I.
Okay, I'm good with that.
They want to change the living the dream to the
sorry,
horrors persist, but so do I. So we're going to move to the saying that now.
All right.
Some kind of goop on my glasses.
So
Must be some jelly fell out.
Must be some jelly. So we're going to get into that jelly story in a little bit.
Yeah.
But this week we're going to talk about weather manipulation, since that seems to be
Hot button item.
Yep, for sure.
Everybody's.
And weather manipulation is proven.
Yeah.
Okay, so for those of you who don't believe that weather manipulation happens, it happens. It's been happening for a lot of years.
Yep.
A lot of years, with actual proof. And originally they would call seeding the clouds.
Mm-hmm.
And they would drop chemicals into the clouds to make them actually grow and rain in drought areas once they figured out they could do it. So this was actually something that you guys need to go back and look up. If you don't believe in weather manipulation, absolutely Google cloud seeding. And it will 100% show you proof that weather manipulation is real. All right, so we're going to go through and we're going to cover weather manipulation programs around the world, and we're going to name by name.
So I would say that if you use these number 2 and number 4 topics in a sentence, you would get demonetized. But since they don't monetize us anyway, it doesn't really matter.
Someone.
It doesn't really
if you want to come in and talk trash, you might as well forget it, because I'm going to throw you out with a quickness. Or I'll actually mute you so you can hang around and maybe learn something.
There you go.
So I'm not going to boot you. I'll just mute you. So hang around and learn something. All right. So our first one is called Operation Popeye, and this went on during the Vietnam War. And the U.S. Military, this was a project, like I said, during Vietnam, and they used cloud seeding to extend the monsoon season over Ho Chi Minh Trail.
Right.
Which Ho Chi Minh Trail was a huge area with some of the bloodiest battles in Vietnam. Now, this was aimed to disrupt enemy supply lines by flooding roads and causing landslides, and reportedly extended rainfall in the targeted area by 30%. So conspiracy theorists believe it was part of a large effort to control weather globally. But as far as weather control, this was absolutely a stepping off point.
Right. Proof of concept.
Well, proof of concept. And, you see they use the word, doggone it, now, where they seeded the clouds, cloud seeding. So they use the actual word cloud seeding, which, like I said, that's been going on for years and years and years.
Oh, yeah.
And people have forgotten about it.
The Romans talked about it.
So now the High Frequency Active Auroral Research Program, right, is based in Alaska, and HARP, the acronym, was a U.S. military-funded research facility. Now, officially designed to study ionospheric and phenomenon and improve radio communications, they claim that HARP can control weather patterns and cause natural disasters.
Right.
Accused of causing hurricanes, earthquakes, droughts in various regions, HARP was shut down in 2014, but suspicions of ongoing operations persist. So this is one of the conspiracy theories that HARP in Alaska was actually manipulating the weather.
Right.
So
and with that one, they actually proved that they could manipulate the upper ionosphere to make storms, but the HARP itself is such a small array of antennas that it can only change it in a tiny little section of the sky.
Right.
So that was the whole thing. But if you take it at face value and say, okay, well, if it's proof of concept that a 4-foot tall antenna in an array, big enough could manipulate the weather right above it, what if you could link, let's say, all the the radar dishes around the country, the ones that they use for NOAA, into an enormous array? Then what would you get? Then you wouldn't need to mess with the HARP anymore, right? The HARP was just a scale model. Now that you have the
proof of concept,
the whole country of antennas that you could ramp up at night and do the same thing, then you'd have a bigger area. That's the conspiracy theory of it, right? If you ever watch in the evening news, or you go to NOAA and watch like the 24-hour radar, at some point when the dew point of the ground reaches a certain point, it makes like a perfect ring around each one of the antennas. It only does it for like 5 minutes or so. But everybody always takes that frame out of context and says, look at this. The whole country just lit up all at once with these antennas. You know, when it's just, that's how antennas work. Like a average radio station, they broadcast 2 different powers during the daytime, because you have one power you have to run all day to overpower all of the noise that comes from the sun, and then in the evening you just switch to a lower power. So if you have an old transistor radio and you're listening to music about the time the sun goes down, you'll hear the station kind of shift and get a little staticky. Right.
Well, that's what at night, if you have a CB radio, systems band radio, they call it skip. And what it does is, because there's not that background noise at night, your actual signal will skip off the earth and off the ionosphere, and off the earth and off the ionosphere.
Right.
My dad used to be big into CB radios, and his signal skipped all the way to Hawaii.
Oh, wow.
And some lady's like, oh, you should come to my yard sale tomorrow. And he's like, oh yeah, where's it at? And she says this place, and he's like, where's that at? And she's like, oh, it's like 3 miles south of Honolulu. And he's like, yeah, I'm in Missouri. I don't think I'm gonna make it to your yard sale tomorrow. So yeah, that's a phenomenon that they have to cancel that background noise, and at night they actually lower their signal, because otherwise it would go
it'd be blast in your antennas. But that's kind of the non-conspiracy theory of what HARP does, and then the conspiracy theory of it.
Right. So in 1947 there was Project Cirrus. So Project Cirrus was one of the first major cloud seeding operations conducted by General Electric and the U.S. military. And this was aimed to dissipate hurricanes or change their path using silver iodide, which is what they use for cloud seeding. And it successfully diverted a hurricane off the coast of Florida in 1947, but it made landfall in Georgia. And this led to widespread fears of government weather-controlled experimentation. And it sparked speculation that future hurricanes could be deliberately steered or intensified. We are showing you right here
1947.
that 1947 they had this technology. So if
And
you
they did
people, and they did it. So if you people that don't think there's weather control, I'm sorry. This is one of the conspiracy theories that is not a theory.
Right.
It legit happens. Right? And I know we're going to catch some flack for this from TikTok, but
Yeah.
or people that don't know.
We're not monetized anyway, so
Yeah. Yep.
I can say whatever I want.
And if you guys aren't digging into this stuff and doing your own research, I mean, the information that we found is readily available on the internet. It's out there.
Right.
So
It's not hidden.
Yeah, it's not hidden. Dig in yourself. Take a look,
Hidden in some redacted government document,
Yep.
that you can read like 3 sentences of. No, these are all papers that were written up by actual scientists.
I mean, even the Chinese government openly admits to using cloud seeding to ensure favorable weather. And they employed it during the 2008 Beijing Olympics to prevent rain during the outdoor events, and used regularly to reduce air pollution or increase snowfall in northern regions.
Yep.
They allege that China used the weather manipulation for geopolitical advantages, and claims persist that China could destabilize neighboring countries through drought or flooding.
Right.
So the Chinese government, which admits nothing, openly admits this.
Yeah.
So,
and there's a lot of carryover for that for our poor friends in Japan.
Yeah.
Because the Chinese will manipulate their weather, and then the off flow of that then hits Japan.
Right.
Right. So, like, let's say they want to clean Beijing from its fog, right? So they'll make it rain every day for like 3 weeks, which then depletes that water table for the cloud that is then going to go to Japan. So then what happens, all that runoff goes into the ocean, then makes a typhoon, and then the typhoon hits Japan. So instead of getting a little rainstorm here, a couple days later another rainstorm, now you have a typhoon that then dumps a whole year's worth of rainfall.
And then not only that, but they're not getting the rainfall over Japan that they would normally get, because it wouldn't spark up over China. It may have started over China, but then grew large enough to rain over Japan, and then Japan's not getting that rainfall.
Right.
So, because the clouds would be emptied out. So, Russian's weather modification project.
Yeah.
Russian has a history of cloud seeding to clear skies for national celebrations and parades.
Yep.
In 2010, they used the silver iodide to mitigate drought conditions in certain regions. Conspiracy theories suggest that Russia has experimented with weather manipulation as a weapon, which I would not put that past them.
No.
Speculations that Russia may influence climate in adversary nations, especially in Eastern Europe. There's theories that the military facilities in Siberia conduct secret weather control operations.
Well, that's how the Russians defeated the Nazis. Because when the Germans decided they were going to invade Russia, the Russian winter is what defeated them.
Yeah.
Not boots and bayonets. It was,
it was weather.
8-foot deep snow drifts and temperatures in the below 60, negative 60. So that's why that's how they got quagmired into, They got quagmired into a battle that lasted longer than the Germans had planned, and then the permafrost was just destroying their tanks,
right.
And they were landlocked. So the Russians learned that early, and it's not like what do you call it, the chemtrails or whatever. They would just take rockets, just take an aluminum rocket full up with the silver iodide and just fire it into a cloud. That's all you got to do.
Yep.
And then once it bursts, it disperses that.
That's what they used to do in like Oklahoma and that stuff during drought times. They would shoot these rockets up with silver iodide to create, and what little bit of clouds were there, it would cause them to gather more. Because what a cloud is basically it's water particles, right? The evaporated water particles. They grab onto particles that are in the air,
right? Dust or whatever
it is. But they use the silver iodide to basically create dust in the atmosphere, and then more particles grab onto that, which facilitates the growing of the cloud.
Right.
Which then the cloud holds so much, and then it starts raining.
Then it precipitates out.
Yeah. So the chemtrail conspiracy.
Oh, here we go.
This is the one that Bob wanted to get into. They suggest that the high altitude airplane contrails are chemicals deliberately sprayed to manipulate the weather.
Right.
Believers claim these chemtrails affect local weather, causing droughts or storms. Accusations the military and government use chemtrails for climate control or population control. Lack of transparency from authorities fuels the theory that weather modification is hidden in plain sight, linked to health concerns with claims of toxins and heavy metals being dispersed in the air.
Yep.
So this is one that Bob likes to talk about.
I personally have anecdotal evidence of the 50 years that I've been around that I've noticed the sky changed color over my lifetime.
Right.
Like I remember distinctly as a child that the sky was blue, almost a cobalt blue right above you.
Yep.
And then it tapered to the horizon where it was still blue. Whereas now you go outside and the sky is silver. And if you look straight up in the most dense part of the sky, it's still blue, but barely.
Right. It's a light blue instead of a bright blue.
Right, exactly.
Because it used to be really bright blue.
You could even, if you had a telescope during the daytime, you could see like Mars and Venus, during the day. Whereas now you can barely see the moon during the day. You know what I'm saying? Like that used to be one of the things our professor, or science teacher in school would do. He would take everybody out with his telescope once a year, and we would, the class would see like, oh look, there's Saturn, or Mars during the daytime. You can completely forget about that now. You're not going to see anything during the daytime.
Oh man, we are falling deeper and deeper down a rabbit hole.
Right.
So weather control in the Cold War.
Right.
Both the U.S. and Russia allegedly explored weather manipulation as a means of warfare during the Cold War. The U.S. reportedly considered using cloud seeding to destroy Soviet crops. Conspiracy theories also allege both superpowers could have initiated natural disasters like droughts or earthquakes. Speculation about secret treaties between nations to limit weather manipulation warfare. Claims persist that weather weapons were developed but never fully deployed. I'm not believing that.
Yeah, I don't believe that for a second.
Yeah, I think they were deployed, and I think they still are deployed. So. Well,
and it's like, if you give the government a toy, they're going to use it.
Yep.
And it's one thing for people to go, well, the ethical and moral statutes, like,
your government doesn't give a rat's ass about
I can tell you've never been in the military, right? Whenever people say that to me, they're always like, well, how would you know? Like, oh, sweet little princess, let me tell you about your government. They would stuff you into a chipper shredder.
If they could make a buck off of it.
If it would make a millionth of a cent, they would stuff you into a chipper shredder. That's how the government cares not at all about you. At all. They could not be made to care any less. If they were looking at a spreadsheet and it was like, well, this is going to make the GDP go up 1/10 trillionth of a cent.
Yep, they'll do it.
It might kill 1 million people in Arkansas.
Right.
We do need that GDP to go up for the elections, right? They don't care. They couldn't care any less.
So the UAE.
Switching gears?
Yeah, switching gears, put the blinker on. The UAE frequently uses cloud seeding to increase rainfall in the desert. The program involves injecting salt particles into clouds to stimulate precipitation.
Right.
Theories suggest the UAE is experimenting with large-scale weather control, leading to, for just beyond rainfall, right? They're saying the cloud seeding can affect weather in neighboring regions, leading to droughts. Some people believe the UAE weather manipulation could alter local ecosystems permanently, which is fact, because if you put rain into an area that doesn't normally get rain, you are going to mess up the ecosystem. Because there are animals there that work off of little to no water.
Right.
So, and you drown those out,
They get flood. They don't know what to do.
Yep.
Well, we were talking about the silver iodide, right? When they disperse the silver iodide into a cloud, it just basically works like pledge. Like it bonds to stuff in the air, and that's how. But salt is reflective.
Right.
So the sunlight will actually heat the clouds up, and then it causes more than the silver iodide does, because you have the reflection of the salt crystals that also make the clouds warmer, and then more rain still comes out. You know what I'm saying? So you can ring it a little harder, basically.
Yep. So Hurricane Katrina and government manipulation. Now we're bringing this stuff to the home. After Hurricane Katrina in 2005, right? So conspiracy theorists claimed weather manipulation was involved. Theories suggested that the HARP that we talked about earlier, or military programs, intensified the storm or controlled its path. Some alleged that the disaster was orchestrated to cause economic damage or displace populations. Suspicions that weather manipulation could have been used for urban development plans. Accusations the government uses storms as opportunity for martial law drills. That's a possibility. And
if it was a test, then Louisiana failed.
Yep. And now, I'm not going to go down this rabbit hole, but I'm going to open the lid and encourage you guys to go down it. So the place that the hurricanes affected, off the coast, right? Not Florida, off the coast. And we're having all this trouble with the roads being washed out and whatnot. Dig a little bit into what is important in that area of our nation. Yeah. And dig a little bit into who owns part of that area, and dig a little bit into what's underground in that area, and do your own research on it, because I don't want to get us banned.
And how it would benefit a certain sort of vehicle.
Yeah, and a certain company.
Yeah.
And go down that rabbit hole. We're just going to open the lid a little bit. You guys can open it the rest of the way and peek on in. We do encourage that. So yeah, just saying.
Yeah. And I'll tell you another one that's not involved with the other one, but it is involved with the same thing. And it's that circuits, the way like circuit controllers work, is varying frequencies of quartz. That's how the clock in the computer works, is with the precise quartz. And through some sort of obscene coincidence or, predetermination, the largest reserve of quartz in the country, it just happens to be in the mountains of Appalachia. So look up that one too.
Yep. Go down that rabbit hole. Remember, we encourage you guys. We don't want to tell you how to think, but we encourage you to go check this stuff out yourself.
Yeah.
We're not telling you this is what you should think, but we want you to look into this stuff yourself, because if we tell you how to think, then we're not coming up with new theories.
Right.
You know what I mean? We want people to be knowledgeable. We want people to discover on their own. We want people to come up with their own idea and enlighten themselves.
Exactly.
So that's why we always encourage you guys to go out and explore these things. So,
well, it helps us build a community of people that are well educated.
Right.
Or at least curious enough to try to get educated, right? So that's what our goal is. We don't want to be like influencers that are like, this is what you think, go buy this.
Right.
We're telling you, like, this is what happened, this is what could happen, and this is possibly what happened.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? So if you ever think that, like, well, there is a deal in conspiracy theory, like, we really don't travel in conspiracy theories that much. But we're giving you the whole story,
right,
which includes the conspiracy theory. So, like somebody saw a silver disc fly through the air and they sent a video out and everybody's going crazy about it. We look at that video and say, well, what is the Occam's razor of this, right? Is it aliens, or is it a government conspiracy, or is it some kid with the drone who's setting up a video to get the millions of clicks that it got?
Because we'll be quick to debunk something. We are firm believers in debunking first,
right,
and then you look at what's left over.
Exactly. And whatever's left over, no matter how crazy, once you've eliminated every possible terrestrial outcome, that exists, whatever you're left with, no matter how improbable, is the truth.
Right.
So even if you're looking at it and you're like, God, it has to be jellyfish aliens.
Right.
I mean, because it can't be anything else, then this is all you're left with.
Right.
Right. So that's where we come from with that.
So back to the weather control. In the 70s, Japan conducted early experiments in cloud seeding and weather modification. and targeted areas for increasing rainfall to boost agricultural production. Now, conspiracy theories claim that Japan continues to explore weather control for economic advantage, which would not surprise me a bit.
Right.
Suspicions of weather manipulation could be a defense tactic against natural disasters like tsunami. Claims the government has secret partnership with military for weather experimentation, and that is a good thing. Also, not only for defense against weather, but defense against invaders, because if you make the weather absolutely horrible around your country, it makes it more difficult.
Yeah, like
for an attack.
The Great Wave off Kanagawa.
Well, that was, according to your little thing here, it was Godzilla. Bob's got this really nice pad on his desk here that's got a tsunami on one side and Godzilla on the other.
Right.
So it was Godzilla creating the waves.
But that's what happened to Genghis Khan when he sent his army to invade Japan. Is that the big rogue wave just destroyed all of his ships. And then his son had to go back home, and he was like, "Yeah, there's no way we're going to get over there. We like 200 people landed safely on the shore, but the Japanese just hacked them to pieces. So we're not going to Japan." So yeah, that's that story.
So Hurricane Harvey in 2017, conspiracy theories emerged that the intensity of the Hurricane Harvey was due to human-made weather control. It also speculated that HARP, similar technologies, intensified the storm to test disaster response. Theories suggest the storm was deliberately directed towards Houston for economic or political reasons. Accusations of military involvement in testing large-scale weather warfare capabilities. Allegations that the government wanted to manipulate oil prices through the storm and, forced refinery shutdowns.
Right, the refineries had to shut down.
So, there's a lot of reasons to manipulate weather.
Right.
Like, a lot of reasons to manipulate weather. And to believe that we can't do that with as much technology as we have, I mean, look, everybody's carrying a computer in their pocket now.
Yeah.
And you're telling me that we can't manipulate the way the air flows, or we don't understand weather enough to adjust it a little bit?
Yeah.
Speaking of, I'll just throw that out there because I was thinking my ADHD brain went to weather manipulation by satellites, to the new satellite thing they got going on where you can order sunlight. Have you seen this?
No.
There's a company out there that are putting satellites up that will turn and reflect sunlight into an area, 2-mile area, wherever you want. So say there's a high-speed chase or whatever, rather than having a helicopter shine a light on the one vehicle, they can legit turn a satellite, reflect the sun, and shine a 2-mile area.
Huh.
So we'll be able to pull sunlight from wherever, but it's expensive as heck.
Oh, I can imagine.
Right, to order sunlight in your 2-mile area, and it's like 4 minutes you get that's for the civilian use. It's like 4 minutes, for the sunlight. So, but it's expensive as heck.
Yeah.
But the future, and you're telling me they can do that and they can't manipulate a little bit of cloudage?
Yeah.
No, I'm sorry. So, even Australia gets in on the cloud seeding. And they do it for snow. Right. And they use it frequently by the government to enhance snowfall and ski resorts. They use the silver iodide process, and it increases the precipitation in key areas. So conspiracy theories claim that technology is also being tested for broader weather manipulation efforts. And some believe Australia's cloud seeding could lead to unintended consequences like flooding or droughts elsewhere. Yeah. And theories that the military is involved in secret experimentations related to weather control. They say theories.
Right.
Every government out there is probably into weather control. Yeah. I mean, it's not a theory. Like, if they can control it, if they think they have an advantage, a tactical advantage by doing something, they're going to look into it.
Yeah.
It's not a conspiracy that they're looking into it. It is absolutely 100% true because they can use it to their advantage. So that's what they're going to do. So
I saw recently, because of the farm, we get flyers in the mail all the time, and I saw the modern cloud seeding thing that they use. It's pretty neat. What it is it's like a big iron tube right? It's like a 7-foot or 8-foot iron tube, and it just has a igniter and a little cylinder at the bottom of it, and you turn on the propane, and then it just makes a bang.
Yeah.
That resonates up into the cloud and then makes it rain. So it doesn't actually shoot anything into the cloud.
Oh, is that the one that was going poof, and then like 15 minutes later, poof, it'd go off again? Yeah, I saw that one. I saw that. That was wild.
So that's a thing you can buy right now.
Yeah.
So, if you...
And you can use it to dissipate clouds in an area.
Yeah.
Because it disrupts the cloud with because basically it's like a shock wave.
Yeah.
Goes up into the air, and it can actually dissipate the clouds.
Yeah, so if the cloud doesn't have any moisture in it, it can actually make the cloud go away. But if the cloud has enough moisture in it, it can make it start raining. So, crazy.
Because they can actually add the silver iodide, or they could do it without it.
Right.
So that's why you could do either way. So, geoengineering and solar radiation management.
That's what we were talking about with the silver.
Yep.
The silver sky.
So this involves dispersing particles in the atmosphere to reflect sunlight and reduce global warming. Critics and conspiracy theorists claim that this could be used to control weather on a massive scale. Now, accusations of the government are secretly testing this technology under the guise of combating climate change. Now, fears that the manipulation of this climate in the way could cause irreversible damage to our ecosystem. And theorists link geoengineering to military projects aiming to weaponize the weather, which, once again, that would not surprise me.
Yeah,
I mean,
about it. In Vietnam and World War II, they were doing
it. So it's not a theory; they were legit doing it in unclassified documents that we encourage you to go look at. So, our last normal, quote unquote, normal one. Hurricane Sandy in 2012 and weather warfare. Conspiracy theorists suggest that Hurricane Sandy was intensified by weather manipulation, allegations that HARP, back to HARP again, and other technologies were used to steer the storm towards key economic areas. Some believe the storm was a test for disaster response and economic control measures. Accusations that the government has the ability to weaponize storms for political gain. Now they speculate that the secret military weather control projects contribute to the storm's devastation. So yes, if they are intensifying these storms, it definitely will add to the devastation. Now, this leaves us with how this whole thing started for Bob and I, that we got on this subject. I saw something and I sent it to Bob, and our original topic was going to be interesting things found that Unsolved Mysteries had talked about that were just totally wild and off the wall. And that's what Bob and I were going to talk about, was the Unsolved Mystery stuff. And so...
But this one is so far out there.
Yeah, this one is...
We felt you needed a little education before we made an entire video talking about this topic. Because all of that we just talked about was
leading to
the foundation to make us sound less crazy talking about this, because this story is out in the outer realms of the stratosphere. So
over the span of several weeks in 1994 in Oakville, Washington, right, the residents reported multiple instances of a jelly-like substance falling from the sky, often following rainstorms. Okay. Now the blobs were about the size of rice grains, and they covered homes, cars, grounds, everything. It was everywhere. Right. So after that happened, people were getting sick. Okay. So they were dizzy, flu-like, you name it. And even the animals were getting sick. They were having breathing issues. They were all getting sick. All right. Now, the local hospitals sent samples of this goo to Washington. Okay. And the Department of Health analyzed it, and the early reports suggested that the substance contained human white blood cells. Let me repeat that. It was human white blood cells in this goo, right? Which white blood cells are what attack viruses and things in your body. Right? But it didn't match any known biological organism. Right? As a whole, the gelatin. Now, further tests suggested the presence of two types of bacteria. one of which is common in the human digestive system.
Mm-hmm.
So this was gut bacteria and another unknown bacteria in this gel that fell from the sky like rain after a rainstorm
Yeah.
in 1994. Now, there are a few theories. So the first one is the jellyfish theory.
Yeah.
Okay, so the most popular explanation was that it was the remains of jellyfish caught up in military bombing exercises over the Pacific Ocean.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's theorized that the fragments of jellyfish were dispersed into the atmosphere and later fell as rain.
Right.
I mean, but think about that. If we drop a bomb in the ocean,
In the Pacific.
and there's enough jellyfish guts,
Or
yeah, whatever,
whatever.
to get up in
Whatever.
the atmosphere to rain down later, right?
after the rainstorm.
After the rainstorms, to
Yeah.
come down after the rainstorms, right?
Because it didn't fall with the rain.
What are the chances of
It
that?
was after.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then some say this was a military experiment.
Right.
They believe the event was part of a secret government biological warfare experiment, given that Oakville is located near several military installations. The idea is that jelly rain was a test to study the effects of biological agents on civilians, which, if you're from the St. Louis area, you will know that the government has no problem experimenting on civilians.
Yep.
They pumped chemicals into the air around the St. Louis area back in, was it the 60s?
Yep.
It was the 50s or the 60s?
It was the 60s.
It was the 60s.
It was the projects.
Yeah, that in the lower monetarily valued area of St. Louis, they pumped chemicals to see how it would have an effect on civilians.
Yeah. If you want to look it up on the map, it's where the soccer stadium is now.
Yeah. So definitely check that out. So if you don't believe the government's going to experiment on us,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. The Tuskegee experiments.
Yeah.
The Pruitt-Igoe, like it. Yeah. You'll lock yourself in your closet after a couple hours of research on that stuff.
Yep. So another theory points to a phenomenon called star jelly. It's a mysterious gelatinous substance that's been reported throughout history, often following meteor showers. The explanation ties the jelly to natural atmospheric conditions rather than man-made causes.
Right.
I'm sorry,
Star
I
jelly
don't.
is a thing.
Yeah.
Because the meteors impact the other upper ionosphere and then shatter into a billion little dust fragments that then collect all the goop in the upper atmosphere and then bring it down with it. So that's where star jelly comes from. But this, they said, didn't resemble star jelly. So.
And some people say that this was a rare and natural phenomenon, basically involving environmental pollutions or algae being carried into the sky by winds, currents, and later falling back down as rain. Which
Yeah.
I'm not good with that one.
No. They also said initially that it was the what's the Russian space station?
Oh, the mirror.
The Mirror, yeah. It was the Mirror space station's toilet.
Oh yeah.
Like when they flushed their gel toilet and let it burn up in the stratosphere, it didn't
burn all the way
burn
up.
up in our atmosphere. It made it through, and then so that's
Yep.
what.
Flying poop.
Right,
Space
it was
poop.
gel from the Mirror space toilet.
Yep. Flying space poo. So, yeah, we wanted to get into the weather stuff before we got into this one because this one is just so out there.
If you just started saying it rained jelly on a town in Washington, people would be like, "What? What is this nonsense?" So now we gave you the whole story of weather manipulation possibilities and what the government's been up to. So that way, when we drop this bomb of, it rained
Biological goo.
white blood cells on a town in Washington, then it doesn't sound quite as crazy.
Yep.
Or at least
So-
like 30% less crazy.
This is an ongoing mystery.
Yeah.
There's no answer for this one yet. Obviously, I'm sure they have samples still tucked away somewhere, maybe
Oh,
even
yeah.
frozen. Welcome to the craziness of the world.
Right.
So, thank you for joining us on our weather control podcast. We do appreciate everybody coming in and watching us. I had something, but now I forgot.
I keep thinking of Cobra Commander in my head. He's like talking about the weather dominator. Like, we're going to change the world.
Oh, we did get the new business cards in, so I'll have
Yeah.
to grab a few of those from you to add to our little business card holders.
Yeah, we're
we
doing
just
the
got.
31 Days of Halloween. Every
Yep.
day is a new movie. So if you're following along, it's been pretty good until last night.
What happened last night?
The movie last night was terrible. Terrible. I made it 3/4 of the way through, and I'm just like, at one point, I'm just like,
I can't do this.
I'm done. I'm done with it.
Might I make a recommendation? When you did it a few times, but make sure you put out where you can find the movie so that everybody can follow along.
Right.
So
I've been trying to do that.
Yeah, you've done it like 3 or 4 times, and then you haven't for a few times.
Yeah.
So yeah, put that out there so people know where to find the movie. So for all you that are watching us, Bob and Angie have a little haunted house advent calendar kind of thing.
Yep.
And they put 2 pieces of candy and the name of a movie in each little spot, and then every night they pull out and they watch that movie.
Yeah.
And they do it for the full month of October.
Yeah. Initially, we did it because there's a lot of movies that were, like the foundation of horror, you know, that she has seen or I have seen or we haven't seen together. So we thought we would do like a marathon of like the old, like Dracula, Frankenstein.
Nice.
And then like the next year we did a different theme, you know, and a different, every year it's a whole different theme. So this year was
demon possession.
Demonic possession movies.
Nice.
So that's what we did, all of the Insidious movies in the beginning. So now we're into kind of not series movies, but they're little one hits.
So we have a little bit of news Bob and I were discussing before. For those of you who watch the podcast on the regular, a few weeks ago Bob placed a video in the end of our podcast where we captured an orb coming out of the bedroom. If you slow it down and watch it frame by frame, coming out of the hallway, going into the bedroom, materializing, dissipating, and going back into the hallway.
Right.
Okay. So we have investigated that farmhouse 3 times. All right. The first time was crazy active. Then the next time it told us that it didn't have the energy, which was during the last
the eclipse.
The eclipse, and during the Northern Lights.
Yeah, the solar storm.
So we've been out there 3 times, and we have decided, because of this new evidence, because what happens is Bob has motion cameras out there.
Everywhere.
And
the place is covered in cameras.
And they don't pop up movement detected. Yeah. They pop up person detected.
Yeah.
So Bob and I have decided that we are going to go out and do another live investigation out there.
Yeah.
So the Saturday before Halloween, we usually start about 10 o'clock Central Time and go to roughly 1-ish. We are going to go out and do that live investigation. We will be live here on TikTok for that investigation. And then we do a podcast covering the results.
Yeah.
So we will be doing that live investigation here in 2 weeks. So that will be awesome. Yeah. Another live investigation, which we haven't done one since New Athens, which was a couple months ago. So that is our news.
Yeah.
So make sure you check out the Patreon. The paid Patreon members get a postcard from us every month, and Bob creates those postcards, and Angie prints them out, and
we'll send them off.
And Angie does a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff. She doesn't get enough thanks. You know, you see Bob and I, but Angie does a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff, and we thank her for all her hard work she does behind the scenes with the logos and all that stuff. And speaking of logos, Teespring. Go check out Teespring if you want some
the merch,
the Veritas Project merch. T-shirts, tank tops, hoodies, you name it. Phone cases, stickers, cups, keychains, you name it.
Totes for your shopping.
All of it.
We got all of it.
We got it all. So go out there, and if you want something, send us a message. We can probably get that in there too. So go check out the merch. If you have any kind of paranormal stories or anything like that you want to tell us about, we will absolutely check it out. If you got photos, video, whatever, Bob is the real Veritas Project at gmail.com, and I am investigator.todd.paranormal@gmail.com. And definitely check out Bob on all his socials, RS Curtis or The Real Veritas Project. And speaking of, we just changed the name of our YouTube a few weeks ago to The Real Veritas Project.
Yep, The Real Veritas Project.
And then you can check me out at, Investigator Todd on all the social medias, including here on TikTok for all you TikTok lives. And you know what? We forgot to go live on YouTube today.
Yeah, I didn't.
You don't want to deal with it? Okay.
We only get like 2 people watch it ever. So
whatever.
like,
okay. But
I just figured it would make our footprint a little bigger.
I have noticed our numbers are going up.
They are, yeah.
We have gained like 100 followers in the last week.
Like 160.
On YouTube. So we're getting more subscribers.
Bouvet Island video
is taking off again.
It's always going up and up and up.
We should have talked about Bouvet Island with the weather.
Yeah.
With the weather. Go check out the Bouvet Island episode because we do show pictures of the weird weather phenomenons that happen when storms do hit Bouvet Island.
Yeah.
They get really wonky.
Yeah.
And that was one of the theories of Bouvet Island is that there's a weather control station there.
Yeah.
So, yeah, definitely go check that Bouvet Island episode out, and that'll link right in with this. And why don't you put the link to the Bouvet Island in the description with this one so people can check that out. And thank you guys for watching, everybody. Thank you for joining us on TikTok, and we will catch you all next week. And remember,
stay curious
and find the truth, and we'll catch you next time. Bye, everybody.
See ya.